Coming up on Mountain News this morning, officials are warning parents to be on alert as cases of walking pneumonia increase among children. And as folks begin to shop for the holidays, it's important to know what sites online are trustworthy.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. My name is Amelia Lee. We are just about 1 minute away from 5:30 this morning, and today's date, it is Monday, November 18th. It's also time to check in with our friend meteorologist Megan Dusmal for a look at your forecast. And Megan, it's been a bit warmer than usual. I'm not an expert, but I feel like it's been warmer than it usually is seasonally at this point.
It definitely is. We're seeing these temperatures this morning at, the 40s, 50s, and we saw even cooler weather last week. But as we continue to go through this week, we can hopefully get to those seasonal temperatures. The normal low for this time of year is around the upper 30s, but we're seeing the mid to upper 40s for this morning. And those temperatures are just going to continue to increase. By the time you're heading to those afternoon hours, we're going to see the upper 60s, with some places seeing the 70-degree mark being hit. And yet again, these are some more unseasonably warm temperatures, as around this time of year we expect the mid 50s as the high, so over 10 degrees warmer than what we normally expect. But we do have cooler weather as we go into the next couple of days that will become unseasonably cool for this time of year, so that's something to look out for. But as we're looking at satellite and radar, mainly just looking at the clouds, no chance for rain today. And as we go through the next couple hours, you can just see as those temperatures increase from the low 50s this morning to the upper 60s in the afternoon. And I'll have the ARH 7-day forecast coming up. Amelia?
All right, Megan, thank you. A Harlan County man was sentenced to 15 years in prison for conspiracy to distribute 500 grams or more of meth. According to his plea agreement, Stephen Williams was the point man for drugs being brought in from Georgia to Harlan and other counties in Kentucky. The incidents reportedly happened between December 2021 and August 2022. A co-conspirator arranged for Williams to travel to Georgia and return with several kilos of the drug for distribution in Kentucky. A Johnson County man was sentenced to 10 years in prison for distributing meth. Gary Warick was sentenced after he was convicted for conspiracy to distribute 50 or more grams of meth. During a trial, evidence was presented that he was involved in 2 controlled purchases of meth by law enforcement. In 2022, police executed a search warrant at Warick's home, finding more than 130 grams of meth. In Floyd County, 2 people are facing charges after police found drugs where children had been playing inside a home. Deputies were conducting a welfare check at a home in Langley last Wednesday. Deputies later found meth, fentanyl, and drug paraphernalia mixed in with children's toys. They also found that Dustin Hoover had marijuana in his pockets. He and Christina Blankenship face wanted endangerment and multiple drug charges. An officer at a federal prison is accused of assaulting an inmate and filing a false report. 33-year-old Lieutenant Zachary Toney is accused of kicking and striking an inmate in McCreary County last year while the inmate was handcuffed and lying on the floor. Toney reportedly falsified a report and instructed 2 other officers to do the same. The charges include violations of the inmate's civil rights and attempting to cover up the assault. Toney faces up to 30 years in prison if convicted. A Whitley County man was sentenced to 18 years in prison for his role in a machete domestic attack. Daryl Earls was indicted by a grand jury for first-degree assault in 2022. The incident happened when Earls reportedly assaulted 20-year-old Taylor Lowe. Earls has to serve at least 85% of his term before being considered eligible for parole. The CDC is warning about an uptick in bacteria that can cause walking pneumonia in children. Here in Kentucky, the UK Pediatric Infectious Disease Clinic says they have seen more cases of walking pneumonia than usual, particularly in school-aged children. But despite the increase in cases, health officials say it's not a huge cause for concern. They say most cases typically resolve on their own, and those that don't are not difficult to treat.
Most cases would either be self-limited in that they would resolve on their own, like a viral cold, and those that don't are easily treated with oral antibiotics that can be prescribed by anyone's primary care physician.
Dr. McTeague says prevention methods rely mostly on those people who are sick. He says folks should stay home from school or work if they do have symptoms. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul is tapped to lead the Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee. Paul says he will become the committee's new chair when the new Congress is sworn in on January 3rd. Paul will be in charge of a committee that has a broad jurisdiction over government operations. This includes the Department of Homeland Security. He says he will immediately move to enact President-elect Donald Trump's plan to reinstate a policy requiring asylum seekers to wait in Mexico for hearings in U.S. immigration court. The Harlan County Judge Executive was chosen as the new president of the Kentucky Association of Counties. Dan Mosley took the oath of office last week during the organization's 50th annual conference in Louisville. Prior to being picked for this role, Mosley was also a member of the Kentucky Association of Counties Insurance Agency Board. The statewide organization represents counties' elected officials. The holiday season is getting underway, and so is shopping online to find the perfect gift. But as Jessica Umbro explains, there are some things to look out for to keep your financial and other personal information private this holiday season.
There are some big red flags and roadblocks you need to watch for because the con artists are really getting slicker at how they steal your information.
Heather Clary with the Better Business Bureau says some of those red flags include sites that may look like a well-known retailer but are off by a letter or two, making them a site you're not exactly looking for. Clary says to see if the URL says HTTPS, with the S meaning it's a secure site. Clary says social media is especially risky for shopping scams.
You order something, you don't get it, they've got your money, and you can't find them. The page is gone. So you want to use extra caution if you are going to think about using something like that.
She says some of the biggest tells are when it's hard to find a direct contact with customer service.
How are you supposed to catch up with them if something goes wrong down the road?
Or if the only payment options are online platforms such as Zelle or PayPal. Clary says credit cards are the way to go.
You have protections there where you can dispute a charge if something goes wrong. You don't get what you thought you were supposed to get.
Some holiday shoppers say they already have some red flags they look out for when looking around online.
Especially if it's a place like I don't know, or if it says like you've won this or you won that and I didn't register for it, that's definitely a red flag in my book.
Especially like when it says like you get free items or like free rewards, don't believe it.
Especially with some of the big ticket items this holiday season, Clary says to trust your instincts.
If there's that hard to get item and it's a really low price, ask yourself, is this coming from a legitimate seller?
In Lexington, Jessica Umbro, WKYT.
If you believe you were scammed or may have almost fell victim to one, you are encouraged to report it to the Better Business Bureau's Scam Tracker. Well, business owners in the mountains encourage you to shop local this holiday season. This Friday and Saturday, downtown Hazard, along with boutiques throughout the country, will host the annual Pink Weekend. Hazard and Perry County businesses who are taking part will have deals, prizes, and will even be open later than usual. Julia Smith says it's a great time for folks to do their holiday shopping.
So take a weekend and explore Hazard. There's so many people who I'll be talking to and like, Hazard has that? Oh, I didn't know. Or where's that at? That sounds really cool. So take a weekend, come out, enjoy it.
Organizers say there will also be free horse and carriage rides, hot chocolate, and a meet and greet with Santa Claus. More information on Pink Weekend, November 22nd and 23rd, can be found with this story on our website, WYMT.com. When we return, the iconic Golden Girl Betty White will soon be honored by the U.S. Postal Service with her own Forever stamp.
And with the much cooler weather, we could see a chance of a wintry mix. I'll have more information coming up.